emotional processing as an air filter. So emotional processing is the air filter. Is the air filter. So the air filter of emotional processing, when a fart happens in the collective space, a projection happens, some interpretation of somebody else that is not in full respect of who they They are, and how respect affects judgment on all levels. Respect affects judgment on all levels. So, for this generative genius to manifest over time, the arrow of respect is essential. So that's an essential element. So emotional processing is the air filter. So when a fart happens or a distortion of some kind that affects the way people see each other, and how this can activate polarity. Polarity, once activated, means that this person is seeing out of their perspective, and this one is seeing out of theirs, and there is truth in both of them, and they are unable to see each other in a respectful way. Respect once again. So emotional processing is the air filter that helps it creates the container, the conditions. The air filter So air filter creates the conditions for respect to come back. Air filter, filtering out judgments. Air filter, air filters out judgments. Now, how does air filter do this? That's where the containers matter. And you take the hurt, painful reactivity that comes from polarized dynamics, and by their nature, when activated, it activates that war dynamic. And this is that old system that we're needing to evolve out of. Because the charge is so great, it goes back and it creates explosions, which then embed the trauma body back into the system. The trauma body back into the system from the explosion. This is why it's cultural. This is why it's generational. This is why it's archetypal. This is why it's embedded in this model. And this is why we must, for this new system of respect to manifest, we must build trust. Trust building system. building, B-U-I-L-ding, a trust building system to reconnect trust. And that's why what this air filter is, it's the plumbing. It filters you if you're big and chunky and super hot. There are systems of agreement. There are systems of agreement that know how to work with the deep shit. Now this can go from personal to archetypal to global, and then this is social evolution. Personal, archetypal, global. And that goes back to how do we look at how it's conditioned into us personally to create our personal interactions with each other that can polarize through loss of respect, through an energetic fart that happens. It can be personal, or it can be inspired by a collective situation. However the fart may happen. I am very aware of the polarization and the war dynamics. And when you are aware of these dynamics and become a leader in a leadership, there is leadership in understanding our primal nature, leadership for our primal. Nature. So embedded in our primal nature is our survival system. And when activated and given permission to be in its wholeness, magic happens. Truly, magic happens. And it connects in with a greater understanding that allows for the system to see itself. C was created as the plumbing to empower the ability for systems to come back into honoring Gabriella, heart genius. Genius. That can see itself over time, filtering out reactionary emotions from the decision-making process. And this is what keeps us clean. If a trigger happens that affects respect, and is seen in the public space as having a foothold in how the decision is being made, that's tipping it towards the war dynamic. Anyone at the table can step in and activate. Anyone can step in at the table and claim open space. There is a 15-minute window There is a 15-minute window for it. The invitation for living examples and private space. Living examples and private space. This is the filter system. And we are all allowed to acknowledge if we see the need to activate another circle or have a one-on-one conversation is a mediator the direction to go. A cup of coffee, a walk, a walk, recognizing the discernment of right relationship when picking up your recipe for your own relationship to see. Somatic embodiment education. The felt sense of our internal experience is important. Do you, if you have been invited to be in private space or a living example, have emotions that are hot? Emotional processing. Do they need emotional processing? Emotional processing. Oh my God, that's so cool. So side trip, I just saw a layer of my own, and it's around my spelling and my relationship to thinking and how my child never connected. I have to think these two things through in order to spell correctly. Sometimes it's an interesting thing. Anyway, that's a sidetrack. Sorry, come back, Surya. Oh, so many sidetracks that I maintained my focus here. This is so exciting. So, living example. I would choose to be a living example. In fact, I have in all of my workshops expressed the ability to be the living example, to show how I do emotional processing, giving a role model, a model showing what emotional processing looks like. Show and tell. Show and tell. Meet and greet. Great. And private. I believe that to embed somatic embodiment education, to embed understanding